This documentary is about the globalization of pop culture. The globalization of pop culture is how America has spread our music, our movies, our books, things like that to other countries, and we sell our ideas of that kind of things to other countries to make money. And we almost kind of make them conform to how we live in America, changing their traditions, their way of living, their culture, and now they're conforming to our traditions, our way of living, our culture. And I've interviewed three different people in this documentary. One was an older woman, a middle-aged woman, and a teenager. And I've asked them their opinions about the globalization of pop culture and how they feel about it, and if they think it's negative or a good thing for the other countries. Okay, so the globalization of pop culture is basically that over a long time or a few years, we've been like taking over with other countries and sending like our movies, our songs, our books, everything just over to other countries, and we don't ever get anything back. So do you think that the globalization of pop culture is a bad or a good thing?
Overall, I think it's bad for the other countries because, like just for what you said, they're influenced by us. It's not a reciprocated position.
Yeah. So. Well, do you think it takes away from their like traditions and original ways of doing things, like with their language and all that
stuff? It absolutely could take away from theirs because they're influenced by us, even though a lot of the other countries do not like us and maybe even hate us. They still copy us.
Yeah.
Or at least the young people try to.
Yeah. And then is the globalization of pop culture, is it like another way to spread imperialism of the United States? Like a way for us to take over?
I think it could be that it may not be intentional, but it's happening.
Yeah. So I guess, do you think it does more harm or good for the other countries, like overall?
Overall, I think it's harmful to them. Myself, that's my opinion. The young people may think it's wonderful, but I think their elders would disagree and say, no, they're taking away from our traditions, our culture, and trying to push yours down our throat.
Yeah, because we don't really, try to
accept yours. It's not a two-way street. Right.
Cool. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so the globalization of pop culture is that basically over a few years we have tried, as America, we try to make other countries listen to our music and have like our books and our kind of social media and our kind of like songs, movies, books, all that stuff, and like we kind of give them the idea of like with Hollywood, like what's beautiful, what's not, and like their culture. Like, do you think we tell them that their culture is not beautiful because like of what we think? Or I don't know, do you think that globalization of pop culture is a bad thing or a good thing?
So I think it could be both, right? Because like what you're saying, when our culture, be it that the other country wants it or that we sort of push it, either just to make money or whatever, right? When we send that over to another country, so that has a different idea. Typically in Europe, they had, different ideas as to what was more beautiful. Maybe it wasn't the skinny anorexic girl, it was somebody with a fuller figure or something. Could it be bad? Yeah, because we're going to change, how they view things sort of in a bad way, to where, okay, now you have to be ultra skinny instead of being fuller figured or whatever, right? But then again, it could be good too, because you also have countries like in China where people don't have freedom to think like they want to. And so when we kind of, when America's culture, is pushed over there, they sort of question like, well, why should we only like what the government feeds us to like,
Yeah.
So I think it could be both. I think it could be bad and good.
So do you think that it takes away from the other countries, like traditions and like what they think?
Sure it could.
You think so? Yeah.
Yes. Because here, think about it here. We're all Americans now and sort of have our American traditions rather than like I'm Irish, but I don't know of any Irish traditions that my family still holds, that sort of thing. So yeah, I think that it could be bad because they start to focus on, and what I would call most of America's culture would be very superficial, some more superficial things than maybe their heritage.
Definitely. So, is the globalization of pop culture? Do you think it's another way to like spread imperialism of America? Like, do you think it spreads imperialism?
I guess so, but like I said, I don't necessarily think that's always a bad thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be nice if we, lived in a perfect society where, like, okay, we could share our ideas with, say, France or China or
Yeah.
Japan, whatever, and then everybody still, keep their own national heritage and whatever, but still be able to see that and accept it,
Yeah.
Like I said, I think it's a good thing when it goes into countries where they don't have the freedom that we do.
Okay.
I mean, part of our freedom is that we can make some cruddy choices,
Yeah.
and we can choose to idolize certain things that maybe we shouldn't. But that's also our freedom to do that, and that's what makes America great. The freedom to make our own choices.
Freedom of choice.
Which other countries, people in other countries don't necessarily have. So if we are able to spread freedom through that, I don't know that we're necessarily accomplishing that all the time, but I think it does make people think sometimes,
So you think it does more good than harm to the other countries?
I would say it probably does more good than harm to countries that aren't free like we are, if it makes them think that way. But then, when you like send it over to, like a country like France or somewhere where they're basically about as free as we are,
Yeah.
I don't know that it's necessarily doing more.
We're just trying to
good than
like
harm.
make them like us, kind of thing.
Yeah, and we could be, and part of it is too, like, I just want to make more money.
Yeah.
So I just want to globalize my product, so
Yeah.
to speak, just to make money.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so the globalization of pop culture is basically that over the years, America has tried to like conform other countries to our way of like pop culture and listening to the same music we listen to, the idea of Hollywood, and like with our movies, we send them over there and we make money off of it, and our books and like the ideas of what's beautiful, what's not through Hollywood, that kind of thing. So do you think that globalization of pop culture is a bad or a good thing?
Well, it depends on your view of what's good or bad. I mean, have we really pushed our culture onto other people? I mean, because that's the biggest question. Have we ever done that? Yes, we make movies. Yes, we have our own music and different things, and sometimes I think people think that America pushes it on other.
But you think they actually want it? You think
They can,
you think they like it and they appreciate it?
To a degree.
Okay.
I think if they didn't want it, then they would not agree to have it.
Yeah, definitely. So do you think that it takes away from the other countries' like traditions and their culture and way of doing things, or do you think it helps them grow as a country?
It depends. Sometimes I think it could go either way, but it really just depends on that country and what they want. I mean, it's not like we're not going in there and forcing them to buy our movies or our books or anything like that. We're offering to sell them those things. It's ultimately their choice of whether they want it or not.
But you don't think that like them listening to our music and them watching our movies, you don't think that affects them in the way that they think about their own culture? You don't think that it like changes their way of view on their culture?
It depends. It could. It very well could. But it also depends on whether they let it or not.
Okay, yeah. Is the globalization of pop culture, is it another way to spread imperialism of the United States?
I wouldn't think so, because it's not like we're going in and forcing them to do things.
You think it's their opinion to buy it or not?
Yeah, it's their choice. They're not forced to buy it. It's their choice to whether they want to spend their money on that type of thing, or your video's like messed up, right? So it really just depends on how they look at it. It's not like we're forcing them to buy our movies or our magazines or any of the cultural things that we have. It's their choice of whether they want it or not.
So you don't think it does any harm to the other countries? You
I
think
don't
it can
think so.
help them out more than it does harm? Basically is what you're saying.
No, not really, because what I'm saying is that it's their choice whether they want it
Okay.
or not. So I'm not saying that America is harming them because we're selling them those things or allowing or giving them those things. I'm just saying it's their choice.
It's how they take it.
It's how they take it.
Okay, thank you. For pros and cons of globalization of pop culture, I found that it's good because it gives foreign countries more business, and it makes America more money because we're letting them buy our music and our movies, our books, magazines, all of that. And it brings people together from other countries. Like, we all have a common denominator almost, like our way of doing things. It helps us to all connect better. And a lot of people from the pop culture industry have helped other countries with charity and things like that, such as when Justin Bieber, for example, when he went over to the Philippines after the big hurricane, he helped them rebuild. He gave them money. He did concerts for them. He just helped them get back on their feet. So that's a good way of how pop culture has helped. But some cons would be that it interrupts the other country's original way of life, and many citizens of other countries are scared of Americans' pop culture to take over their own cultural industries. And it's almost gradually ruining other countries' cultures. Like, they have no tradition, that kind of thing, and it interrupts their religion sometimes. And it takes away from the original language, because in books, I found that because our books are over there in English, the people in smaller countries, the children are learning English before they even learn their regular, like their traditional language that they're born with. And it alters the image of people's minds on what is beautiful because of the idea of Hollywood and how America, they almost try to say that you have to be a certain shape, a certain size, you have to look a certain way to be beautiful, and I don't think that's necessarily right. From watching the interviews, you saw that the different generations have different opinions on how the globalization of pop culture affects the different countries. In my opinion, I think it does more harm than good to other countries because we are taking away from their culture and their original way of doing things with traditions, in my opinion. I feel like America almost thinks that we are, like, everyone has to be like us and they can't have originality, but I disagree with that.